Well, today we're going to be covering how to use Cocos2D, the JavaScript version at least, to create games. It's not a coincidence that I picked Cocos2D and especially the JavaScript version. And you're going to see that there's a contest right now going until May 31st that it's going to give you amazing prizes to create games with Cocos2D. So, well, let's get to it. So let's start with what is Cocos2D-X. So you have here the definition, the official definition, and I'm going to put here the site where you can check everything about Cocos2D and also to go and download the entire framework. But really the cool thing about this platform is that right now is developed to create games for different platforms. So there are many developers right now that are using just the X version that is with C++, or that they are using the JS version that is with JavaScript to create games that appear on Windows Phone, Android, and also iOS. And well, even web, especially the JavaScript version. So that's really cool. And again, here in Cocos2D-X.org, you're going to be able to find the entire documentation, the downloads, everything else. So at this point, before we go to the download part, I'm going to talk to you about the contest. So you can find everything that you need to know about this contest in the page windows.cocos.com. Of course, I'm going to put it over here much bigger so you can see it while I'm talking. And basically, you have until May 31st, 2015 to submit your games. And this is the cool part. You have a first prize of $25,000, second prize $15,000, and third prize $3,000. So even if you just win the third prize, of course it's an amazing prize, and everything that all that you need to do is just to submit a game created with Cocos2D to one of our stores. But in case that you are going to have any doubts about it, you can see here like what is going to be the criteria that we're going to Microsoft is going to use to judge on this game, and also you're going to have all the rules that you need for the game to know what's going on. So you're going to have it here. I'm just loading for a second. You can read them there at the bottom. You saw at the bottom of the page, and you're going to have everything that you need to know, and restrictions and everything else, and some of the steps. You can see here that you have already links about how to create, how to publish in the Windows Phone Store and the Windows Store and everything that you need. Quite likely in the following days I'm going also to create a few videos on how to do that part, especially I have much more experience to do it with Construct2 than with Cocos2D, but well, most of the process at the end is the same. Well, now let's get started, and let's first download Cocos2D. So in the main page, you're going to have two options. You can go down to download it here, or if you're in the home page, you're also going to have this button over here. They are basically going to get you to the same place. So let's go here, and these are the different versions that you can download of Cocos2D. Now, the version that I'm going to work with, it's going to be this one with Cocos2D-JS, and I'm getting this one that is version 3.5, and I'm going to ignore the light version that, well, you can imagine it's a little lighter, and so I'm just going to download this one. Now, you just click, and you're going to have your file that you see that is over 300 megabytes. It's a little big. I'm not going to do it because I have already installed that part. I already installed Cocos2D in my computer, so I'm not going to have a duplicate. The other option that you have is to go to GitHub and directly get the latest version that has been published there. Of course, you can branch it, you can just download the entire zip. Basically, it's kind of like what I did, and you can see all the comments and most of the things that you need to get yourself going. So if you're a GitHub user, you just follow the link that I'm putting here on the screen, and you are going to have also the same version that you should have on the main page of their site. At this point, you could try to follow this blog post created by Eric Mead from Microsoft. That is basically letting you know the things that you need to do to download from GitHub or basically any other place, Cocos2D, and you're going to have a lot of the things that I'm going to tell you in this video just explain here. So I'm putting here on the side the the link to the site I made bit.ly, so it's much easier for you to find it, and that's it, what you have to do. So well, I'll show you basically what I did. I first downloaded the zip file that it's here, so of course I tried to first extract it, and I created my own folder with that. The other thing that is quite important is that I didn't have installed Python in my computer, so I had to look for it and install it. This is the installer, and I'm going to show you really quick. I closed that page. So Python, download Python. That is from the, python.org. You can search for it directly on the internet, and this is the page where you're going to find it, and you can download and install this in Windows, Mac, almost any kind of OS that you have there. So I'm just going to go and find the folder that I created, that is this one. And the first thing that you're going to have to do is to run this setup.py. That's from Python. So if you already have installed Python, you're going to see the icon similar to this, and you can just double click and install it. Or the other option that you're going to have is to just run your command line, command prompt, that in this case I'm going to do it with run as an administrator, like right clicking, say yes, and I could go to this same folder. So I'm going to say cd space, and here you're going to be able to look for anything that is .py. You have it there. So again, I'm not going to do this part because I already did it. It is going to set the global variables in your computer to well, get all the right paths and that the commands on the command line work properly. Two things that may be asked of you while you are following the installation is that you have to provide where the Java path, the Android NDK, like several things that you may not need, especially for this contest. So if your entire purpose is just to create games for Windows, Windows Phone, and to enter this contest, you just have to press enter. Otherwise, if you want to create cross-platform games, then you will have to enter where you have that, right? I didn't do it, and it worked perfectly because, well, I was not going to do anything with Android at the moment. Once you have installed Cocos2D, the first thing that you have to do is to create a project, and to do that you have to copy a comment that you can find here in the blog post that I mentioned before, or you can even find that, I think, at the end of the GitHub well, page for Cocos2D. So let me see, where is it? Over here. So you have an example. You see, this is the comment that you are supposed to run there, and now we're going to try to create a new project. So which one? I'm just going to try to follow here what we have here, if I'm not mistaken. So since I already opened my command line and I already got into the folder where I am creating everything else, I could copy directly this comment here. Okay, so I'm going to paste it, and this one, my game 4, this would really be where your name of the new project is going to be. So I'm just going to say YouTube tutorial, something like that, and you should be able to create it. And this one, projects, is the folder where it's going to be created. So in this case, if I go here, it should be here, that you have seen that I've tried already a couple of them for a couple of tutorials. So you just have to, well, press that, and then enter, and it should take perhaps a couple of minutes to copy all the files in the directories that they are supposed to go, and set your Hello World project. So let's give it a couple of minutes. If this takes too long, quite likely I'm going to cut it in the video and just show you the result, but it shouldn't really take that long, and I can even start checking right now on my projects that is beginning to create everything. Of course, it's not done, and there it is. So it's done. So right now here in this folder that I specified, that is the name that I included here in this part of the option after the Cocos, you should have your project ready. Now, to be able to open the project for Windows and to try to, well, run in this contest that I've mentioned a couple of times, you should follow the instructions again that you have in the blog, and you should find this project, this folder that it should be inside your project. So in this case, obviously the difference is that my game is not named that, and it should go frameworks, runtime, source. So I have it here, frameworks, runtime, source. Well, at this point I should mention that you should see here that even without you saying anything, it's going to be creating several folders for several operating systems. The one that we're trying to aim for at this moment is going to be this one, Win81 Universal, and this one basically is going to allow you to create games for Windows and Windows Phone. So that's the one that I'm going to be looking for, and this is what we have here. So basically at this point you should have installed also Visual Studio. I'm not going to go through that, I already have it installed on my computer too, and I'm just going to add here like the link to download it. You should download the community version, but still you should be able to see something like this, the SLN, that is the solution for your project. And well, you should see also here basically the entire path that I used to get here. And at this moment the only thing that you have to do is to double click. When you do that, it's going to open Visual Studio. You saw that I have the community version, and it's going to be loading here, and you're going to have a good number of folders here in your Solution Explorer, and all of them are just like the bindings to see how your project is going to work. If you really are interested in that, you are going to see that all of them are C++ files, C++ code, and really it's going to be outside where we're going to have the JavaScript part. If you are a C++ fan, of course you can use what Cocos2D-JS is already offering, and you don't have to learn JavaScript. It's just that in this particular scenario I'm just going for that one. But if we go here and we really go back to the root of our project, to this case YouTube tutorial, you're going to find the JavaScript files that we're going to have here. So in this case it's going to be the main file, the main.js, and also in this src, the source, you're going to have two others. So I'm going to open both. I'm going to open the JavaScript that in this case it's opening here in my Visual Studio. It could open in any IDE that you prefer, and this one is just going to set how the game is going to start. So the loading, the elements that you have there, the scene, everything else, you have it there. So the part that I'm going to modify is going to be this one, src, and then app, and this is where our hello world is, and it's literally a hello world that we have here. So I'm going to try to execute this as it is, and that quite likely is going to take a few minutes the first time with Visual Studio, because it's going to tell me that my project is outdated, so it's going to do it. I'm going to start this and I'm going to stop the recording because that takes some time, so I'll just go for it. Okay. Just want to mention that you can see it here, that is rebuilding everything, taking all the C++ files that you had in Cocos2D and is recreating and rebuilding your project and getting it ready. And it takes some time, like I said, the first time, but after that, if you make modifications, especially here in the JavaScript, it does not take any time at all. It's only the first time. It seems to be in the last part of the building. It took a little longer really than what I expected, but like I said, it's only the first time, and right now it's deploying finally. So this is the splash screen that you can modify it and put whatever you want. And now we're going to have our game that you can see that is really simple, nothing really complicated. Hello world, and that's it. So next time, I'm just going to stop this one. I'm going to stop the project. I don't know if you saw where I clicked. I really said that I wanted to execute this project here on the local machine. If we were talking about Windows Phone, quite likely we would not have this project as a starting project. It would be this one. And instead of like local machine, it could say like the emulator or the phone if you have a phone connected. But well, it would be quite similar. And so now I'm just going to do a small change, and just to show you that everything is working. So instead of the hello world, what I'm going to say is to say hi YouTubers, or whatever you decide. In this case, it should work. And I'm going to run it again, and I'm going to say yes. Should be, I'm just changing one project, that is the simplest one, and it should execute again, and there you go. Hello, hi YouTubers. Of course, you can change all these graphics. If you go directly here to the resources, this is the hello world image that we're talking about, so you can modify it and you can do whatever you want, and everything else you should do it directly in Visual Studio to modify what you have here. Of course, this one is really simple because it's just a hello world, but it gives you an idea about how to set up your scene and how to add elements here to your project. So I would recommend just to start with this one and start adding everything else in following the documentation. Now, I'm going to close this one for a second, and I'm going to go up here and go one more time, and basically to the root of our Cocos2D. So if you were not too impressed by my little project, then I'm just going to show you the samples that we have here that come directly with Cocos2D. Not this one copy, obviously I made a copy for that. I'm working on it. And the best one that you have here is Moon Warriors. You have another one that is Test, but this one is basically just a project that is going to help you to test the things like transparency and like small, simple things. Moon Warriors is more a full game. So one of the first things that you should do would be to go here and well, say that you want to go to this folder again, paste. And I'm going to clean the screen so we have it ready. And I should have the instruction, if I'm not mistaken, here. And then set it up. I would like to have this option. This is the one that I want, Cocos run -p web. And this is what it's going to do, is just to try to find the game that you have in the current project and try to execute this in your browser. So I'm going to say paste. The cool thing about this one is that, well, you can do it almost in any device that you have, because quite likely it's going to have a browser. And on top of that, well, since it's JavaScript what we're doing, it makes sense that it runs in a browser. So it's taking it a little bit longer. I guess that everything that I have open plus the recording program of my screen is not working so nicely together. and there you go. Took a little bit. So you can hear that there's some music. I'm just going to mute it so I can talk for the video, but you know now that this game does have some music. And let's check it really quick. So you have here new game. It's going to load it, and you can use, in this case you should be able to see my pointer, so I'm using my mouse, but since I already have a touch screen I also should be able to do it directly like this. That's what I'm doing. And you see that it has many effects, like some particle effects, it has collision detection, it has spawning of new enemies, it has like how to create like variables to keep there, like for the score, for the lives, it has like a few layers because quite likely you have the UI that is there for the score and for the number of lives, and you have, well, a full game. So I'm going to try to kill myself here like several times just to see the game over. I'm going to crash against some of the enemies, and perhaps this game is much more to what you are expecting. And since, well, I've been playing it all this time with the touch screen, you can realize that it's ready to be played in a touch screen like a phone, like a mobile device. It's just that since this is JavaScript, you can see that I'm just using it on my on my computer and using my browser. In case that you missed it at the beginning of the video, this is the page for the contest with the Windows Game Cocos Developer Contest, and I'm going to remind you that you have like great prizes, $25, $15, and $3,000. And basically the advantage that I see is that if you're already creating games with Cocos2D-JS in particular, you have just to do a couple of modifications and to publish in our platforms to be able to compete. So I would love to compete since I do have a little bit of time, but I think I'm barred from doing that since I'm a Microsoft employee, but quite likely I will try to do a couple of games just to get back to Cocos2D. That was one of my first loves with game development. So just, well, check the resources that we have, check the blog post, and let me know if you are going to submit a game. I would love to promote games that were created with Cocos2D, especially if they are in the region where I am. But hey, if you have any other kind of game, it would be awesome to have it, and just let me know. Well, in less than half an hour, we were able to set up everything to work with Cocos2D, especially for Windows, and I think it's a great opportunity to create games not just for Windows but for different platforms, and see if you are already creating games for other platforms. Now you see that it doesn't take long to create them also on the Windows platforms. Like I said, now I have to create more videos about how to publish the games that you create, but well, that's just a simple step, as you're going to see. And I think, well, Cocos2D, it's a great tool. I need to get back on it and be part of the community. I did create it a long time ago and published one game. Now I think I have a little bit more of experience to make something more decent. So what better time than now? In the meantime, here you have my contact. And especially if you're going to submit a game to the contest, but even if not, just let me know what you think about Cocos2D, what do you think about my videos, and also suggest some things that I could do. I try to do things that are useful for the community, and at least a couple of times I've already created videos just to answer specific questions that some of my viewers have suggested. So, well, thank you and have